Okay, so in this video, I want to talk about a story that's been repeatedly coming up on the channels of multiple Black YouTube influencers who have very large followings of thousands of people, way more than I've ever had. But to be honest, I really don't upload videos that often. Normally, I might do like one video a month or two, or maybe one video every couple of months or less than that. I really don't upload videos that often. But for the YouTubers who have the larger followings, who are either licensed mental health care professionals, Black women, or they are experts in their field as far as more Hebrew spiritually oriented, or they have a popular following and they're a pagan. No matter what side of the equation these Black women are on, whether they're licensed psychologists or experts in Hebrew culture, spirituality, and ritual, or or a group support or a support group leader who is into Egyptian paganism. No matter which side of the fence these Black influencers are on, a lot of them are talking about a situation where, like, one white billionaire or a small handful of white billionaires gathered up a group of Black women who are highly paid professionals who look like models, and they allegedly offered these Black women $100 each for donations of their eggs. And the point I've been trying to get across in the comment section of these Black influencers who have the bigger followings, I've been trying to say, hey, those billionaires were not complimenting those highly paid Black women who look like models when he was asking for their eggs. I was saying he was actually insulting them to their faces and knew that they would not be able to see it, because most Black people don't know that a white woman can get $10,000 for donating her eggs. And if she agrees to be a surrogate and to carry a surrogate baby in her womb for 9 months, then the pay grade goes up astronomically if she agrees to grow the child inside her. Okay, white women get thousands of dollars for selling eggs or providing surrogacy services, okay? And these billionaires who are on cameras offering this group of Black women I think it was like $100, only $100 each for their eggs. That's an insult. That's a huge insult, because these guys know that any healthy young white girl off the street can go get $10,000 for her eggs, or get like $75,000, $100,000 for agreeing to grow the child in her body herself and give birth to it. I don't even know if surrogacy opportunities like that even exist for Black women, to be honest. Because people are not stupid. They know that you're going to naturally have a desire for Black males at some point, unless you've been traumatized to the point where you're comfortable and okay with just staying away. And most people know that, Black men tend to spread diseases more so than the women. Most people know this. And I think the issue of, and 9 times out of 10, when you find a Black woman with HIV, 9 times out of 10, she's married legally and got it from her husband. That's regardless of whether it's in Africa or America, most of the Black women who have HIV, they're married. So I think that really is detrimental to Black women's opportunity to sell their eggs or to be a surrogate. And then there's the white supremacy issue. So, and I've been trying to tell in the comment section of the more popular Black YouTubers, I've been trying to say, hey, these Black women who look like models and they're professionals, they're being insulted because they're only being offered 1/10 of the investment that any young white girl off the streets with no college degree, no high paying career, she could be average looking. It don't matter what she looks like. And a young white girl could make enormous sums of money, huge investments that a lot of times is not accessible to Black women or Native American women. And even with Native American women, if you're a Native American woman, you can't even sell your eggs. You can't. Because, like, Native Americans tend to have higher rates of suicide and depression, which is understandable. I mean, look at who they're stuck with. A lot of them are stuck being surrounded by Ku Klux Klan families actively involved or that used to be involved. A lot of the Native women are afraid to go to the hospitals for treatment because of the crazy shit that goes down in those Great Plains and California hospitals. You know, I'm not talking about Mexicans, I'm talking about the northern Native women. And they've been stuck with families who's actively involved in the Ku Klux Klan. They've been stuck with families where most of their members used to be in it. You know, white supremacist families. And this is 9 times out of 10, that's the only kind of people they have to reproduce with if they want a child, with someone who's not a cousin. Because in Native culture, I think, I think there's more of a push to have someone who is not closely related, more so in American cultures than in cultures overseas. You know, with people of indigenous, like most Americans, you know, whether it's Black people of indigenous descent descended from the pyramid builders or people descended from the Asiatic tribes, either or, 9 times out of 10, everybody's going to look different. A lot of the siblings are going to look different, cousins, the whole family's going to have very, very different features from each other because we don't do a lot of inbreeding. Like, a lot of times inbreeding is very much against our culture. You know, you could go overseas and it's like in one tribe most of the people kind of look the same, or in one nation most of the people kind of look the same. But with people of indigenous descent who are descended from northern tribes, and also Black people who are descended from Black pyramid builders, and who may or may not be mixed with Western tribes and Asiatic tribes as well. The same thing with us. Throughout North America and the Caribbean and South America, we don't all look the same. We have a lot of genetic variation through our families because we don't believe in doing a lot of inbreeding. We just don't. You know, you have some families where everybody kind of looks the same, but for the most part, we don't have a lot of that going on, like what you have in some of these tribes and nations overseas. We just don't. So with that said, with the women on the reservations, I think they're kind of viewed as having something genetically wrong with them by some of the companies that collect eggs, and they don't want Native American eggs. You know, because they're probably looking at it like those eggs might be more likely to come with HIV, just like, you know, the view of Black women's eggs. They're looking at it like maybe it might be more likely to come with mental health issues, you know, because they're probably concerned it might be genetic instead of situational from their men beating them up and abandoning them to try to find a white Latina or a pure white woman. You know, they're looking at those high suicide rates and not really understanding, okay, these people, the only people they have to breed and reproduce with if they don't want a cousin, a lot of times is a white Latina or a pure white woman from one of the Ku Klux Klan families. I mean, it's a mess out there. I think the mental health epidemic in Indian country and the high suicide rates in Indian country and in the black community, I really do think it is not genetic, it's situational. Because you have a lot of the same shit going on both sides. But I think it's worse on the reservations though, because that's literally all they've got. And with the northern native women, their men beat them up and abuse them so bad because the white Latina is the queen of Indian country, you know, with full-blooded Indian women who's real dark skinned and way darker than me with bone straight hair, who's from the more Mongol side of the equation and not descended from the black pyramid builders here. Like those type of women, their sisters will call them the ugly one who got stuck in the mud. A lot of times their own men won't date them and won't marry them because they're too dark. You know, and then on top of that, they're surrounded by people whose families used to be in the Ku Klux Klan. And they gotta be with a white guy if they don't want to be with a cousin, if they're stuck out on a reservation a lot of times, or a white Latino. And that's got to be pretty demoralizing emotionally, the extent to which these women are getting crowded out, just like a lot of Black American women, many of whom do have indigenous ancestry. I mean, it's just sad, you know, and I've lost my train of thought on the point I was trying to make. So I'm going to just end the video here. I'm trying to take some supplements and vitamins for that.